So a loop is a powerful programming tool that enables you to execute a set of commands repeatedly. In this session, we will examine the following types of loops available to shell programs. The while loop, okay, the for loop, break, and continue. Guys, the for loop is especially useful. It's one that I use very frequently when I have to do the same thing on multiple different servers. So shell loop types, you will use different loops based on the situation. For example, the while loop executes the given commands until the given condition remains true. The until loop executes until a given condition becomes true. So while happens while it's true, until happens until it's true. Okay? Once you have good programming practice, you will gain expertise and thereby start using appropriate loops based on the situation. So here's some example of shell loop types. I know this is kind of hard to see, but it says while command 1. It says this is loop 1, the outer loop. Do statement to be executed if command 1 is true. So while this is true, do this. And while command 2 is true, do this. And then you would finish it with done. So we finish while loops with the phrase done. Okay? And you see this is nested inside of this while statement. So while this is true, do all of these things. We have separate, conditional ones here, like if this is true, I'll keep doing this. And when all of this is finished, then we're done, okay? So here's an example with actual code. So we have our hash playing, we have a equal to 0, we have the variable a equals 0. So while a is less than 10, do b equals the value of a. And while b is greater than 0, do echo the value of b, so the variable b. And we set b equal to variable b minus 1. Done. And then we echo a equals expression variable a plus 1. And done. Okay? So we have some shell loop types. The first one's the infinite loop. So all the loops have a limited life and they exit once the condition is false or true depending on the loop. A loop may continue forever if the required condition is not met. For this reason, such loops are called infinite loops. And guys, sometimes we do this on purpose, and sometimes this actually does not happen on purpose, and it's a bad thing. Sometimes we make loops that can't finish, and we have what happens here, which is to get stuck in an infinite loop. And sometimes that's a bad thing. Other times, though, it's useful, and we want it to happen. So here's an example, a simple one, that uses the while loop to display the numbers 0 to 9. So we have our hash playing, and we have this variable a equals 10. So until a is less than 10, do echo and variable a. We're set a equal to the expression a plus 1. Done. Okay. This loop will continue forever because a is always greater than or equal to 10. And it's never less than 10. So this is never going to finish, right? Because it will never be less than 10. And this is an until loop. Remember, those go until becomes true, and this will never be true. We also have ways to control loops. So we have the break statement. The break statement is used to terminate the execution of the entire loop after completing the execution of all the lines of code up to the break statement. So the syntax of that is the following. The following break statement is used to exit a loop. So we put the phrase break, and the break command also be used to exit from a nested loop using this format. Break in. In which case, here, the in specifies the nth and closing loop to exit from. So I'm going to go back a couple slides. And we saw here, we have multiple loops here, so we could say break 2. And we'll say in this second nested loop is where we want it to break, right? Okay. So here we have an example of that. We have our hash playing. We have the variable a equal to 0. We have the while loop that says, while variable a is less than 10, do echo variable a. And we have an if-then statement, so if variable a is equal to 5, then we put the break statement in, and we end it. We say a equals expression, variable a plus 1, done. So upon execution, we're going to receive the following result. So we'll have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have the break. Okay, so this is our break statement here. It breaks when a is equal to 5. Okay, so the while loop's going until it's less than 10. But here we say, hey, when it gets to 5, go ahead and stop it, break it. And that's what happened. We got all the way to 5. And you see here, it actually started with 0, guys. So remember, 0 is a number. So it always starts with 0. We also have the continue statement, which is another loop control. And this is similar to break command, except that it causes the current iteration of the loop to exit rather than the entire loop. This statement is useful when an error has occurred, but you want to try to execute the next iteration of the loop, okay? So syntax is, we use the continue phrase, and like with the break statement, integer argument can be given to the continue command to skip commands from nested loops. Such as here, we have continue in, which will specify the loop you'd like to continue from. So we have an example of that here. We have a hash string. We have a variable called nums, or nums, or numbers, which equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for numbers in nums, the variable nums, do, and this is a for loop, guys, so do variable q equals expression, variable number, %2, and this is a modulus sign, and we're going to go over all these signs later. So if variable q is equal to 0, then echo number is an even number. And we continue. Phi, or in, echo, found odd number, done. Okay. So here's what's going to happen from that. It's going to say found odd number, number is an even number, found odd number, number is an even number, found odd number, number is even number, and then it's going to finish, right? Okay. So it went through all those numbers for that for loop, and it finished at 7, okay? So here we're going to talk about the for loop. The for loop operates on a list of items, as we just saw, or repeats a set of commands for every item in a list. So the syntax for for loops is for variable in word 1, 2, etc., all the way to however many words you have, do, and the statement to be executed for every word, okay? So for variable, and we execute that in these words here, and done. Here, variable is the name of variable, and word 1 to word n are sequences of characters separated by spaces. Each time the loop executes, the value of the variable is set to the next word in the list of words, word 1 to word n, okay? So basically, it takes this variable, executes it on this word, goes all the way through, and it starts over, does it on the second word, goes all the way through, starts over, third word, and so on. So here's an example that uses the for loop to span through the given list of numbers. So for variable in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 9, do echo variable. Okay? So upon execution, we receive the following result. So basically, it's setting variable equal to 0, to 1, to 2, to 3, all the way to 9, which we see here. Up next, we're going to be talking about basic operators.